Welcome back to Keeping Current, where we connect real-world electrical and facility experience with the standards, maintenance habits, and leadership decisions that keep people safe and operations running. I'm your host, Joe O'Dwyer, and to kick off Season 3, we want to start with something more useful that you can implement immediately inside your facility. Today, we're talking about how to make 2026 the year of no surprises. Wouldn't that be awesome? Practical steps any facility can take right now to stay reliable, safe, and ready for whatever shows up. I'm joined today by my good friend, Jeff Jurasic, Director of HVAM Operations, who works with facilities across the country to keep critical electrical systems reliable and safe. Jeff, thank you for joining me. I know you're busy. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, Joe. Happy to be here. Happy to help.
Excellent. Well, we're going to start off with some easy things, then we'll just graduate to the harder. So, Jeff, when you're thinking about starting the year strong, A, what does that mean? And what does that mean with the first two or three things every facility should check?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, facilities begin the new year and everybody's got new things on their plate. But one thing that maybe we forget to look at is, what programs do we already have in place at the facility? Do we have a plan for maintenance, the IR scans? What's the status of our arc flash study, Lotto, just a number of different things. I think that, it's almost a refresher at the start of the year for people to kind of take a look at and see what do we really have in place. Probably a second thing is, what was there something new that was added to the facility? Did we add some equipment? Did we have an addition that we put on with some equipment in it? Did we make sure that we, have those things put into the drawings and that everybody's aware of what these new items might be? Yeah, and then, the last thing is just more of a general thing, probably just what are you trying to accomplish this year? What do you have as far as your plan and what do you hope to accomplish with that plan?
I agree. Well, adding to that theory, what quick inspections or walkdowns tend to uncover the most overlooked issues then?
Yeah, I hate to really think about a quick inspection because, again, I think that when we just kind of breeze over stuff, we maybe forget to see things or maybe don't pay as much attention to it. So to me, I think it's more important to have a complete walkdown of the whole system. And, and to me, have your drawings, have your one lines with you. And I think something else that's beneficial is to have maybe, that sales engineer along with you so that they can maybe help point out some things that they've seen at other facilities. They can give, some ideas of other plans that we have in place with different companies. And I think just an outside set of eyes is good as you walk down, the entire system.
Well, then what's the problem that you see pop up every January that makes you think, we should have caught this earlier?
Yeah, I don't know that there's necessarily one problem that we see in January per se, but I do think that it's, depending on the facility, everybody's got different things that might come up, but maybe there's a recurring issue that kind of raises its, ugly head again immediately in January. And it was something that maybe you put off repairing or getting fixed, comes back and it bites you a little bit. So I think those are maybe the things is stuff that had been left undone or no solution to it.
Yeah. I understand exactly what you're talking about there, based upon some prior experience. So I could not agree more. My next question or thought is, well, how do you balance these quick wins with longer term maintenance planning so the year doesn't become reactive in regards to operations and reliability?
Sure. I think it goes back a little bit to, again, one of the questions you asked at the beginning of this was, I said, what do you want to accomplish with as you set out for the year? But, let me add to that is what do you hope to accomplish maybe with the budget that you have? Because, different companies obviously have different budgets, what they put into their electrical systems. So I think there's a lot of it depends on that budget. So to me, prioritize kind of maybe some of the things that you hope to accomplish, and you're going to prioritize it probably in mind with what your budget is. But then I would also take a look at what's considered long term. What are people would say, what's the low hanging fruit? What can you take care of with maybe parts of your budget that get you somewhere quicker than
Right.
maybe the longer term, maintenance planning that you have. But I still think you have to be able to look at both. And, you're going to compare those two and you're going to say, hey, what's more important to us as a facility here? And again, prioritize that, utilize what your budget is, but kind of have, that game plan of, is it long term? Is it quick wins? And what's most important to you?
Yeah. And that leads me into what I think is a key issue is preventive maintenance. So not all PMs deliver the same value. When resources are limited, how do you go about deciding which activities truly matter in ensuring reliability?
Yeah, I think to me, a lot of times, no matter what it is, you got to look at what's going to hurt you the most. What's going to cause the most pain. And to me, what can you afford to space out? Again, going back to your budget rather than take care of right away. So,
Yeah.
this is more for a facility, I would say, that is maybe limping along a little bit. There's where you have to kind of decide, hey, what do I need to fix? What's, the thing that we need to make sure we're putting money towards right away? Because there are some things I think that, again, talking to somebody about a plan, hey, this is something that we can maybe space out a little bit further. But I think the biggest thing there is, what's going to hurt you the most, and really put money towards that and say, hey, we're going to fix this first so it doesn't continue to be a problem all throughout the year.
And one of the things that I had in my past running a power plant is trending and looking at current draws on, you brought up critical loads, critical systems. I come from a geothermal power plant background, and so our motors and pumps are our most critical. So in getting the prime mover to implement. But my point being is when you see current going up, or you see your heat going up, or you see your vibration mills going up, those are the things that you should start planning on. Do you agree with that aspect?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime you can use, some historical data, that trending, to kind of show you that, hey, these are the things that come up more often than another. That should also help you to kind of prioritize, hey, this is what's most important.
Right. Exactly. Well, a lot of organizations, unfortunately, fall into a let's check the box mentality. But how can we avoid that and make PM more meaningful to not only the workers doing the work, but also the management side of it?
Sure. Yeah. I think you should always review your plan, review your program that you have kind of in place with really a fresh set of eyes every year, and reevaluate that system, and what its needs are. Because even as the year goes on, sometimes they change, right? Let alone from year to year. So to me, it's okay to change your game plan. Do something different than what the status quo might be as far as that check the box mentality. To me, that's a good guide, but you can't just always stick to that year after year. I think, to me, again, to reevaluate and review that and think of it as a new plan that you're looking at, and see, hey, what should we look at changing here?
Well, unfortunately, we see that facilities and companies are trying to do more with less and tighter budgets. Sure. I guess that's just part of reality these days. What advice would you give to the managers to help alleviate that impact?
Yeah, to me, that's actually where we would come into play. I would say reach out to a sales engineer and let them come in and review this plan with you. What can be done to develop a better plan that matches the budget that you have to work with? Mm-hmm. And again, I still like the idea of that fresh set of eyes coming in and just having that conversation. A lot of times people at these facilities are kind of on their own to kind of develop this plan. Really, the plan's just as good as what they know. And they may have a lot of historical data. They may have a lot of history at that facility. But sometimes when you get a fresh perspective, somebody who's seen other facilities and maybe can bring some of that to the table, help you develop a different type of plan, but one that, again, matches your budget. We've had all kinds where people, hey, I'm very light on what our budget is this year. Hey, they released the money this year so we can do some of the things we've talked about in the past. But either way, I really think it's important to have that person, sales engineer, coming in and helping you out with that.
I always relied on my sales engineer when I was running the power plant. I would say, hey, we want to do this, and this, and how can you help me with A, a restricted budget, and B, get me where I need to be. So could not agree more.
Yeah, and I think too, that's where, a lot of times you develop that relationship with somebody you trust, right? And I think again, that's where we come into play. And hey, here's our plan that we have created before, and together you can work on what adjustments do we need to make, whether that is something that's budgetary or if it is something with some new equipment.
How do we identify when unfortunately a PM program is drifting in the wrong direction? How do we wrestle that back and get it to where it's going to provide a positive impact?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you learn a lot from dealing with something if it becomes an issue, and a little bit on the solution that you come up with. I think you got to learn from that. You got to kind of, we always look at stuff where when we're going out executing jobs, we're previewing the job, we execute the job, and then we review it to see what could we have done better. I think that's the same in instances. If you do have something that gets a little bit out of control, you always have that opportunity or you should take that opportunity, I should say, to evaluate it and see what could have been done better. And then how do you prepare that plan moving forward?
Implementation is key. Well, my next section is emergency readiness. So unfortunately, emergencies don't announce themselves. They normally come at the worst time. But in your mind, what does true emergency readiness look like in a well-run facility?
To me, you definitely have a game plan, right? People know their roles, and that's kind of laid out for that facility. Communication happens fast, especially when you have emergencies that come up. And to me, when you have that well-oiled machine of a plan, the solutions happen quicker as well. People aren't scrambling around trying to figure things out on the fly. They've kind of prepared themselves as much as possible for any type of emergency that comes up. So that goes back to having that game plan, to plan for these emergencies that may happen. What's step one? What's step two? Who's involved? Who are we calling in? Who's helping? All those types of things. So I think just a really well-developed plan that handles that. You hope you never have to, but when you have a plan in place and something does happen, it just helps you get to that solution a lot quicker.
Yeah. One thing I had when I was running skyscrapers out west, we had a cold snap, and where we never really worry about freezing. Well, we had all our pipes burst in our garages, outside on the roof, and we had a major flood. So we were not prepared for that. And so one of the things we did is we said, all right, well, all this water is running down our busway. We got to figure that out. So what we did after that emergency, we coordinated with our electrical contractor that was our champion electrical company that would do the work in our buildings. We asked them for some guidelines, and we had that, the electrical section to test the electrical systems. Another thing that we learned is that we didn't have any lighting towers. We didn't have any mops. We didn't have any buckets. We didn't have anything. So one of the things we did is we just started saying, okay, what do we need to handle this emergency? And insulating the pipes was one. You learn from when life kicks you in the butt, like, oh, wow, I was not even thinking of that. But I can tell you this, we have enough mops and lighting towers and buckets there to last forever. So,
right.
Yeah. So, you learn, you just learn. So my next question is a pretty good one. I think, how often should facilities review or practice their response plans, and part and parcel with that? And what usually happens when these plans sit on a shelf and never get exercised?
Yeah, that is a good question. I would say quarterly, if not monthly, to review some of these plans. And people say, "Ooh, that seems like a lot," but I would tie it right into the operation reviews. So if you have a
Mm-hmm.
quarterly operation review or a monthly operation review, I would add this right into it. To me, it's a very important aspect of, your whole facility. So I think it deserves that attention to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
you are looking at it as often as possible. And like I said, I would tie it in with the operation side of what you do. I think when they don't, you end up reacting to what goes wrong instead of, that real time evaluation. And when I say real time, that's that monthly or quarterly review to make sure that, hey, this plan in place, here's what we've got in mind as the year goes on. Are we still on track for this, or has something, thrown us a curveball and now we have to detour off of this a little bit? If you don't, that's again when you start to react to all this stuff, and then can that cost more money? Yeah, it can. Can it cause more headaches with downtime? Yeah, it can. So I think that's, to me, when you don't have that in place, you're just asking for more problems to happen than just the emergencies itself.
I'm ex-Air Force, but a few of my ex-Navy friends, I think that they had some of the best training because that's all they did was practice and train,
Sure.
getting ready
Yeah.
for a fire on ship or, going to conflict or whatever. And you can see how well they team up. So when in my power plant out west, we had certain ways of doing things and they never deviated. Bringing on a
Yeah.
generator, shutting down systems. It was always practiced and planned so we would not always eliminate, but significantly reduce the possibility of a bad situation arising. So I
Sure. Oh
have to
yeah.
agree with you. I am all about the monthly and quarterly training, Jeff.
Yeah.
Totally.
Good.
All right, let's finish up with the people side,
Okay.
what I consider our most valuable resource. How does team
Sure.
coordination impact reliability? Obviously, more than most organizations expect.
When your team has that plan we've been talking about, that execution just happens more naturally,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
which impacts the reliability of that system. Again, I think solutions happen faster. You're able to adjust on the fly. I think, people probably can almost predict some of the responses that you're going to have. I
mm-hmm.
liken it to, I'm a sports guy. I like football. So before every play, you're huddling up to make sure that everybody's on that same page on
Mm-hmm.
what play you're running.
Yep.
Everybody has that role to play as a part of that. Hey, if everybody executes well, it's going to be a successful play. Are you going to score a touchdown every play? Not necessarily, but you're going to gain some yardage. You're going to learn from that play even that you run. So again, you're calling a play, which is again, you're previewing, you're saying, hey, here's our execution plan. You go ahead and you do it, and then you kind of evaluate that even when you're walking back to that huddle before you run the
Mm-hmm.
next play. You're thinking, hey, what could we have done a little bit different? And I think it's very similar in a facility, in people with these plans and the coordination. How much of that are you doing where everybody's really in tune with one another? And when things do
Yeah.
happen, you're just jumping into kind of what your role has already been determined it is. And now it's just trying to get to a solution by executing that plan that you have in place.
And that starts with practice and training.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So how can leaders support not only positive outcomes, but also accountability without slowing down the work process or creating bottlenecks and ensuring positive outcomes? How can we do that?
One big thing that sometimes happens in different organizations is probably not enough engagement with maybe the leaders with the regular team. And so
Hmm.
to me, it's engagement on a daily basis. Keep
Yeah.
everyone engaged on the plan, talk about it often, review what their roles are in it, make sure they can tell you what their roles are. Kind of teach the teacher type thing, right?
Yeah.
Explain back what your role is. Review the results of prior opportunities that you had. We talked before about when things have happened, you got to learn from that and kind of take it into the next opportunity that comes up to do something, right? Show historical data. I think that helps justify the plan
Hmm.
and kind of shows them, hey, yeah, we're taking time to do this, but in the end, it benefits us as a company. When we've had
Hmm.
historically in the past, when we didn't have a very good plan and we had an emergency came up, we had to shut down and we lost 3 or 4 days. Other
Yeah.
times after we made improvements, we had an issue come up and we were able to handle it, and we only had 4 hours of downtime because we were prepared for that. We had practiced and planned and trained, and we were able to handle it much better when it happened again.
And looking back on your experience, what habits or culture separate a high performing facility from more of a reactive one?
Yeah, I would say, going back to, again, talking about the plan that you have often, I think that sometimes you get into places where maybe there's a plan that's put down on paper, or nobody really knows what it is. It's not like a live document, right? And to me, it's again, that's where that review, revise, implement, the changes along the way, what you're seeing on a daily basis, monthly basis, whatever it might be, and how you continue to make that a live plan, so that's not just something that's dormant and you shake off the dust and get it out when something happens. It's something that everybody knows and can respond with quickly because, again, they're engaged with what's going on in this plan. That's really part of that's just being proactive, right? Don't put yourself in a position to be reactive. Let's be proactive. Let's develop these things. Make sure, again, people are aware of them. You're talking about it on a regular basis, and then making sure everybody's on the same page. It goes back to, again, can they tell you what their role is when these issues might come up? When these opportunities arise, are they a part of that plan? Do they help even develop that plan so that they even take a little more ownership in it? Because, hey, we've all agreed that this is the right way forward.
Yeah. One thing I was taught at a very young age by a good mentor of mine is you have plan A, and then I'd say, yup, it's this, and this. He goes, okay, what's your plan B and C in case plan A goes out the window? And I never thought of that before. Or another thing he taught me was like, if I'm complaining about something or, something is, not going well or whatever, he goes, okay, that's great. You told me what the issue is, but what's your suggestion to help us stay more reliable, to keep our operations better? Just don't come to me with the problem. Come to me with identify the problem and the solution to keep our systems more reliable. So yeah, I have to agree with that.
I think it was Mike Tyson that said, everybody has a plan until you get hit in the face.
Yes, exactly. Well, if you could give one takeaway for 2026, and this might be a hard question, but to prevent surprises, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say, to me, check your game plan that you have. Is that game plan robust enough to handle some of these opportunities that might come up? Does it need some work? Hey, is it known by everyone? So I really think it goes back to that game plan and just making sure that it's the plan that you need as you head into this new year. Don't be afraid to change it, but make sure it's a good plan.
One of the things that I was taught is if you're a manager and you're coming up with a game plan, I would send my game plan out to all the people in my division. And I'd say, all right, take the red marker and go at it and tell me what you think we could do better, where I'm off or whatever. In the beginning, I used to take it like, oh my God, I'm not doing my job right. But then I realized, no, I'm utilizing my team, my staff, my resources to help us raise the bar. And that truly helped me moving forward.
Oh, yeah. And definitely helps out with the accountability that it's everybody's plan then, right?
Yeah.
It's just not somebody forcing it on someone else, but again, they all have a part in that.
And it's a good outcome when, somebody not that senior or, maybe just a couple of years in the field has a good idea, gives them the confidence moving forward so they can, feel more part of the team, feel like they're having an impact. It's a win-win all around, I think.
Absolutely.
Well, Jeff, I want to thank you for your time and helping me out with this podcast. I can't thank you enough. And to everyone listening, starting the year prepared is probably one of the best investments a facility can make moving forward. A few well-chosen actions in January can prevent a lot of pain in July. If you found today's conversation valuable, make sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and tune in monthly for more expert insights. And again, Jeff, thank you very much. Until next time, keep current.